Great. We're in the section where we actually going to do the installation, right? We're going to make use of the Helm chart to install the noname platform in our K3D cluster. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back under our terminal, and we are at the right spot, right? We need to be under OPT noname Kubernetes noname sec. We need to make sure that our overwrite file training noname helm.yaml is modified, and we need to execute helm. Helm is present in your VMs. So helm is the command. Upgrade is the subcommand. And again, you may be wondering, I I don't I have nothing. The noname platform is not yet installed into my cluster, right? So what am I upgrading? Well, upgrade is interesting because it gives us the ability to perform an initial installation and upgrade with a single command, right? So the next argument is going to make things a little clearer because you're saying install the noname security package, which is present, which is located at the current folder. That's why I'm asking you to be under noname sec. Okay, and you upgrade if it's already there. You install if it isn't. Okay, and then we want to make sure we install the noname platform in a different namespace. We're going to call it noname. And of course, the namespace may not be present. So if it's not present, I would like, my apologies, it's two dashes. I would like to create the namespace. I would like to create the namespace like this. And then I like to overwrite the values.yaml that is present in this folder, or at least I like to overwrite a subset of values with whatever values are present under my OPT file training noname training noname help.yaml. That's your command. Okay, that's your command. The moment of truth. If we made a typo inside our training noname help.yaml, we're going to see it right now because we're not going to be able to perform the installation, right? And we have to go back. The message is a bit cryptic. It's not straightforward, right? But you get an error as soon as you execute Helm. That means that you have a typo inside your Helm, your values.yaml, your training noname helm.yaml to be exact. Okay. It could be under values.yaml too if you choose to modify that file, which I discourage you from doing that. And let's press enter. Let's see what's going to happen. Now this may take a few seconds, right? I've seen it taking 10, 15 seconds before I get something back. I came back very quickly, right? It tells me release noname sec does not exist. We're installing it now, but it's going to complete within 10, 15 seconds, right? It takes a bit of time. After all, it does so much, right? It does so much. Remember, reads values.yaml, iterates over templates. There you go. That's what you're after. This is what you want to see, right? Be patient. Noname may take a few minutes to start. What this tells us is that Helm completed its job. That's what this output tells us. Helm was able to read the values, iterate over the templates, update, create the workloads, apply the workloads. You want to monitor and inspect whether your installation was completed successfully. You have to say kubectl get all, and you have to specify the namespace -n namespace noname. And now you're going to get all the different information, right? This is too much. This is too much in all honesty. The only thing you need to do is the pods. The pods. So there is a better command. Instead of saying get all, it's best to say get pods. And you want to running this repeatedly, right? You want to keep running this repeatedly. Now, an easy way is to use watch. If I prefix kubectl with watch, I'm going to be running this every 2 seconds, and I'm going to be monitoring its status. Okay. A couple of jobs. These are jobs they already completed. Right. The rest, the image pull back off, the initializations, whether a pod is already running, This is indicative of whether things are good. At the end of the day, you want to see either completed or running. That's what you want to see. Okay. And I do have a link inside your manual that explains the different statuses. What are these statuses all about? If I track it down, it's inside your manual. Here they are. Pod life cycle. And if you keep going back down, you're going to see the different values, right? Container states, waiting, running, terminated, and so on. Okay. It's inside your manual. Back to the terminal. There we go. You may see some errors sometimes. You may see some restart sometimes, so that's okay. The beautiful thing about Kubernetes is that it's self-correcting, self-healing. And keep in mind that there's a good chunk of these different pods that are dependent upon other pods being started. So that's why you may see image pull back off and so on, right? Keep that in mind. And now you wait, right? Now you wait until you see everything running, until you see 1/1, right? Okay. Or 2/2. By the way, this number indicates how many containers are needed for this pod. Engine needs 2 containers. That's the difference. Okay. Uh, this gives me the ability also to explain the different components of the noname platform. So the Nginx is pretty much a stateless deployment that is there to accept all the different requests into the noname platform. Okay. Now, for the sake of brevity in this course, NS302, I do not go into the details with respect to architecture of the noname platform, with respect to how you can mimic sending traffic. Okay, I do all that in NS301. Okay, I do all that. So you want to know all these extra details, you have to go and attend at least a few sections from NS301. Okay, so I don't do that in this course for the sake of brevity. There's a lot more happening in this course as compared to NS301. Okay, and I want to keep it brief. Right, I want to keep it a bit brief to the extent possible 2 hours. Right, to the extent possible 2 hours. So Nginx, always traffic goes through Nginx, and then it branches to other components. For example, you want to gain access to the user interface, it's going to be redirected to the backend. You want to go to the engine, it's going to go to the engine components. Router, nuts. Where are you, nuts? Nuts. And engine is what we call the engine. What we call the engine. And it moved. Son of a gun. Where's the engine? And I'm blind. Engine. Here it is. Okay. So engine. So NAT router engine is your actual engine, what we refer to as engine. Always traffic goes from Nginx to the router, API traffic that is. Um, Nginx, router, NATs. NATs is pretty much, it's a third-party application that we use, or framework. It's for asynchronous communication, and router deposits traffic. The engine pulls the traffic. It's a queue of some sort. Okay. Usually takes between 5 to 10 minutes to have the installation completed. Now I see everything running. This 0 to 1 on the router may take a few seconds or a few extra minutes, right? I've seen it going all the way to 10, 15 minutes before that changed to 1, 1. But if I see everything running, I'm good to go. I'm happy with what I see, right? So I don't have to wait for this 1, 1. It's going to change at some point, but the running is good enough for me, right? The running's good enough. And it took us about 5.5 minutes, right? Between 5 and 6 minutes to make the deployment on this end, okay? To make the deployment on this end. So happy path. The statuses are completed for all the different jobs. And again, a job is an application that needs to execute once, complete, and you're done. And if you pay attention, we pretty much get tokens and authentication keys, and that's it, right? Um, yeah, running. These are primarily because of stateful and stateless applications, stateful sets or deployments. These are different workloads. Okay. You actually can see all that. I'm going to exit this command, Control C to exit, And if I go and I do again kubectl get all, you will see all that, right? These are the different replica sets. These are the stateful sets. As you can see, some of these applications are stateful, like the database Postgres, NATS is stateful, Neo4j stateful, right? The jobs, they just need to execute once and complete, right? That's why you see completions 1 to 1. It took 14 seconds, 4 seconds, and so on. Then you have the deployments, right? And deployments usually manage replica sets. That's the happy path, right? You use deployments to manage replica sets. Okay. Here's your deployments, and it's not a coincidence that you have pods with a prefix that matches their higher order construct. So the router is the higher order construct, the deployment app, the deployment, and you will see router in here. Here it is, router with a randomly generated string in order to distinguish, to provide a unique identifier for your pod. I'm happy. I'm good to go. There's a couple of commands you can use, right? If you have errors, especially in the pods, you keep saying the errors, you don't see completed or running. What you can do is do a description, right? So I'm gonna grab one of these. You can grab the whole thing, and we can come here and we can say kubectl describe, and you can paste, and you can see what is going on, right? Oops, my apology. Pod space router. Oh, uh, with slash it works. Without a slash, with a space it works. What am I missing is a very common mistake, because the default, and I'm happy it happened to me too, because I bet money is going to happen to you too a number of times, so I can show you. So you need to specify the namespace, guys. The application, all these pods execute under the noname namespace, right? It happens to me all the time because I keep forgetting. I have a good excuse. I'm old. So now if I execute this command, whether with a slash or without a slash, it should work. Okay. And here you see what's happening with respect to this pod. Okay. The kubelet, I don't know if you remember one of these slides, right? One of the slides at the very beginning when we were talking about the architecture. See kubelet? Pretty much this is what manages pods inside a node. Okay. And you may see things like this, right? You may get to see things like this. So on the age, 3.5 minutes, we're unhealthy, startup probe failed, started container router, created container, successfully we pulled the image, pulling image, started container, created container. And again, it keeps redoing, it keeps retrying, right, until it gets it right, right? Till it gets it right, and so on. And you come in here and you see what happens with respect to your pod, with respect to information. You scroll up and you're going to see some metadata with respect to your pod, right? And so on, right? There are variables. Here's the environment variables, or a good chunk of the environment variables. Here they are, right? So it's important. It's important. The other thing we can do is we can say, instead of saying describe, we can say logs, right? Logs. Logs. And I do not need the pod because only pods can have logs. Here they are, right? And if you want to keep monitoring all the logs, you type -f. And right now you're going to get to see the logs as they progress, right? So this is where we started. These are the different resources that are available in our noname platform installation. Again, this is training. I have enabled all different integrations. That's why you see them massive input. And every time you receive traffic, API traffic is going to be received in here, and you're going to get to see information inside these curly braces. And I explain all that in more detail, especially the contents of the telemetry, of the router telemetry in NS301. I don't do it in here for the sake of brevity. Okay, but I can tell you right now, my no-name platform is installed properly, right? My difficulty is that I cannot access this no-name platform because it doesn't allow me, it doesn't have anything open. I have yet to configure and indicate how the traffic is going to flow into my cluster, right? Into my cluster. So for this, I have to configure an ingress configuration, my ingress controller, right? My ingress controller. That's what we have to do. Control C. Let's exit from the router logs, and with this, we have concluded. Let me go back to the right spot. Here we go. We have concluded this section, guys. Your no-name platform is properly installed. It's good to go.